Hello, everybody. Welcome to IST 140. I'm, of course, Professor S. This is today's lecture. So, what we first did was we talked about the Zybooks. I gave some programming tips. I went over some practice problems to get us kind of warmed up for what we're doing today. Continued on more with a lecture on if statements, and then I walked through some code. We're going to punctuate this video by talking about what's due for next class. Okay. So, anyways, with Zybooks, in case you're wondering about your grades with Zybooks, because you could have 100 in Zybooks, but a different grade in Canvas. And the idea is that there's a late policy that is calculated essentially. So the idea is like it's due, your Zybooks is due at a certain time, and then I allow 24 hours of a late period. And so what I do is I take that original score from your on time amount, and then I add the difference with the late policy, except it's not the full difference, it's 80% of it. So like I have an example here. So if, so 80% of 40 is 32. So if you, let's see, 80, so if you got 60% of the points on time, and then the rest of the 40% in that late window, you would still get just a 92 because you got the points from being on time, and then 80% of the points from the late period. Okay. And then just also as a heads up, so far we're not doing challenge problems. Don't if you see them, they're extra practice, good for you, but they're not required for this course. Not yet, at least. I'll let you know if that changes, but as of right now, no. Programs for chapter 3. So we have, or module 3, it's all the same, module 3, chapter 3. They're available. They'll do at the end of the module. And the thing that I want to emphasize with this is that I want you to make sure that you're not using things that we haven't used yet. Right, so we've done variable assignments. We've used different outputs from print, printf, println. Those are things. Those are all good to use, but I don't want you to create any additional methods other than the main method. I don't want you to have any loops. You shouldn't be using arrays, like all these extra concepts. Don't use set builder, any of those. What I want you to do is you can kind of look up methods, but you shouldn't need to. Like everything is provided. You have all the tools you need to do it. But I just don't want you to use something that we haven't used yet. Otherwise, it could count against you. Okay? And if you have any questions about if you look up something and you're not sure if it's good or not, ask us. We'll help you. Okay? All right. Let's continue talking about if-else statements. And what we'll talk about today is two things. First of all, it's else statements. Second of all, talking about what like other things that we can compare other than just numbers. Okay. All right. So anyways, the if-else statement. So here's a grading scheme. I'm pretty sure this is the one for class. And if we were to program this into Java so that we say like, all right, here's a student grade, find the letter grade. We could use something like this so far. Okay. The indent seems a little severe, but whatever, right? All right, so notice a lot of lines. It doesn't really make sense to use else because remember, like for the first thing, if it's, I mean, I guess we could do like a nested thing, but we haven't talked about that. So the only thing that makes sense is like, all right, is it in this range? Then it's this value. If it's in this range, it's this value. And it makes it mutually exclusive because none of these ranges overlap, right? So it wouldn't like say that it's A and then it's an A minus. It would just be distinct. But notice that we have to use that ampersand, that double ampersand, which is the logical and. And so, like for instance, grade is less than 70 and grade is greater than or equal to 60. It has to satisfy both of those things in order for it to determine that it's a D. But there's got to be a better way, right? And there is, and that's the else if statement. So what the else if does is it kind of breaks up the else and creates additional conditional statements So you don't have to say like, all right, so if it's not 93, then everything else should be this. It's saying that, all right, if it's not 93, then if it's greater than or equal to 90, then it's an A minus. If it's not greater than or equal to 90, then if it's greater than or equal to 87, it's a B plus. If it's not greater than or equal to 87, then if it's greater than or equal to 83, it's a B. And so it just simplifies a whole lot of things all at once. It's a really great tool. And we'll see it in action in just a second. But before we do the walkthrough, the thing that I wanted to point out is the comparing things. So far we've used the double equals for comparing ints and doubles. That's how we say an int is equal or a double is equal. But we can also use that for characters and Boolean values too. So like Boolean values true or false, we can compare those as well. Characters, that's the things with the single quotes. That's something else we can compare with the equals. Really, the only thing that we can't compare with that is strings. And so in order to compare strings, we have to use the equals method. Okay, so we put one string dot equals next string. Okay. All right. Anyways, let's go see a lot of these things in action. Not so much this slide. We'll be comparing strings, but the if-else statements. And then I'll tell you about what's due. All right, so here I am in IntelliJ. I'm going to go here and create a new thing. I'm going to call this pick a, got to be one word, got to be pick a color. I mean, no spaces. And so I have capitalized letters to indicate different things. First letter is uppercase because this is a public class. Anyways, what we're going to do, we need to do this in the main method. I need my cord not to be in my way. Is public oops where is it? Anyways, so we're going to create a scanner object. Then what we're going to do is prompt the user for two colors. And then we're going to determine if the if the first color is blue or pink. And then do the same for the second color. All right, so first of all, we're creating a scanner object, so we need to import the scanner class. So next thing, so import java.util.scanner. Create a scanner object, so scanner in new scanner system in, right? There we go. All right, so we have our scanner object. Now we're going to prompt the user for two colors. So what kind of variable is that? That's going to be a string, right? And we're just going to assume colors don't have spaces in it, so we're going to say one on the same line. Enter in two colors with a space between them. That way, so I'm going to do string color, gotta spell color right, one is in, because that matches my scanner object, next string color So the idea is, it's like, you know how like with the scanner next, it scans up to that the first white space, whether it's an enter or a space. Well, here what it will do with that space that we have in between the colors, it'll scan the first one and then move on to the next line and scan and read the next one. To prove that to you, oh my gosh. All right. And so then when we run this, it's going to prompt us for a with two spaces in between that. So I want to also change this so in the future it'll be a colon with a space after it. All right. Anyways, we want blue and pink. And so notice it prints blue and then it does pink. Okay. All right. So then let's see. So we don't need these right now. Let's see. All right, determine if the first color is blue or pink. We'll just start with pink. If color 1 equals, and look what happens if I, instead of equals, I did equals equals. Colors 1 equals pink. And then we'll do an else. Oops, not the second. I misspelled that. All right. So look what happens when I run this. Say my first color that I pick is pink, right? So pink and pink. Notice that it says the first color is not pink when it definitely is. That's because we're using the equals equals. Equals equals might sometimes work with strings, but it doesn't really work in the way you think it should. So whenever we're wanting to compare strings, what we should be using instead is dot equals. There we go. So if it equals pink, good. Else this. But remember, we can break it up because it's like, well, what if it's blue? So we'll add this. Actually, watch this. So we'll do else if color 1 equals blue. There we go. System print ln. The first color is blue. And remember also, like, so if it's pink, it'll say that it's pink. But if it's not pink, it'll say, all right, well, is it blue? And if it's not blue, it'll say, all right, it's the first color is not pink. And we also want to say, and not blue. We also want to make sure we punctuate with the semicolon, right? All right. Anyways, now if we think about wonder why that's showing me like that. Curious. Let's give it a run, see what it tells us. Else if. Oh, I forgot so see, it says it's missing a parentheses, and that would make sense because we have the if open and then we have the equals, and then we don't, so it thinks that this whole thing is in the if statement. So we gotta add that other parentheses, and now that's why that else was all weird. All right, anyways, now I run it again. There we go. And so we say, let's do blue and pink. And so notice it says that the first color is blue, and it is. If I run it again and I say that it is red, notice that it says, oh, and I got to say green or something. I don't know. It just says the first color is not pink and not blue, right? And essentially the same thing. If we're also doing the same thing for color 2, it's essentially the same code. So why don't we just take this and enter to make it look a little nicer, and enter here, except the difference is it's like, first of all the color variables, instead of being color 1, they're 2. So I'll change that. And then instead of saying first, it's going to be second. There you go. There we go. So there we go. Let's try it out. So here we have space between them. So we do pink and, oh, not and, blue. And then notice it says the first color is pink, second color is blue. Awesome. Let's try this again. So here we have red. There you go. Second color is not pink, second color, and not blue. Awesome. There you go. One other thing that I'm going to show you before I go is that the one of the fun things that we can do is that with the equals, it doesn't necessarily need to be a variable. It can be a literal string. So like, look what happens when I do here, pink equals this color 2. Okay, so notice no red flags here, but when I run it, we could say pink and pink. And notice that it says the second color is pink because it is. It's matching this variable with this variable. It's saying, are they the same? And they are. Okay. Anyways, let's go back into the slides and we'll finish up this this video. It's things to do. We don't have anything specifically due for Friday, but I want you to try to get the Zybooks done for Friday so that you can then work on the practice quiz. Maybe even take the practice quiz. The idea is like the practice quiz will close next Monday, so you want to try to get some of that practice in. It should provide answers for every attempt that you do. You can do it as many attempts as you want, but it will be available then. But anyway, since the Zybooks, since a lot of the problems are tied to the Zybooks, you want to get those Zybooks done first, I think. So that's why I recommend try to do the Zybooks before next class. Anyways, I think that's good for today. I'll see y'all later. Bye. Hey everyone, hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, please press the like button below. It lets me know I'm doing something right. If you have any questions about any of the content, please send a message to both me and the rest of the teaching team in Canvas, and we will get back to you as soon as possible. Don't send it through normal email. You will not get as fast response. If you have any suggestions for how I can make these videos better, please leave in the comments below. Don't forget to roundhouse kick the subscribe button and ring the bell to get notified for the next video. Anyways, I think that's good for now. See y'all later. Bye.